hop and hippity hop. I'll never be a millionaire. Whoa, boom, boom, and hippity zoom. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love. I don't care.
Hi everyone and welcome to another episode of the Brownian Notion. I am Ananya and today I am joined by our lovely producer Anna. Hi Anna.
Hello, everybody.
We are not joined by Gogol today, but he's here silently listening because we have a very special episode planned for you. Today we are joined by my childhood friend of 22 years, Chandrani.
Hi.
Hi Chandrani. And we will talk about something very, very special. So what will we talk about today, Chandrani?
I think, let's start on our pet topic. That's traveling, something that is very liberating for all of us, something that we want to do more and more, defying all societal norms and everything, whether it's in groups or whether it's solo.
Yeah, so we are talking about traveling as a woman. And here, Anna, our producer, and Chandrani, my friend, could not be more appropriate for the episode because we all have had our share of traveling and our quirky tales of traveling as a woman. So, without further ado, let me ask you guys this. What would you describe as the best thing about traveling? I know we are not able to do a lot of traveling right now, but things are slowly going back to normal. So I'll start with you, Chandrani.
Yeah.
What do you look forward to when you travel, and especially traveling as a woman? How is that a little bit different, do you think?
I have been traveling since childhood, but from the time I started earning, I decided to also travel solo. I mean, if you're talking specifically about me traveling as a woman, then it has been a very, very liberating experience. Of course, it comes with its fair share of challenges, but overall, I think it's been quite an enriching journey for me, especially in this country.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's important, I guess, especially traveling in India as a woman. And
Yes,
Anna,
yes.
since you will have a different perspective from a different continent, would you like to add to that?
So, so it's kind of funny because I only start traveling as an adult. I didn't get to learn how to travel from my parents. I kind of had to learn to travel by my own. And so for me, what's really important is somehow the connection to the people where I travel to. I'm a kind of a slow traveler. I get a bit overwhelmed when I stay for short periods of time in a new place because there is a lot of new stimuli. So my favorite way to travel is to either meet some friends somewhere or to do like I did now that I'll work somewhere and then I will be in that country and then I'll be traveling there. I'll get to know the place. And it comes with challenges. So I'm always a bit careful to read what are the dangerous areas,
Yeah.
stuff like this. Yeah, I always do some reading beforehand. For example, if I will stay, I don't know, like in an Airbnb, and I actually at some point I did couch surfing. I'm not sure if you
Mm-hmm.
know what this is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I always try to stay with the women or in a house that somehow is signaled to be safe. I know this maybe
Yeah,
is too
yeah.
overthinking, but just that makes me feel relaxed, right? So
That's true, yeah.
But Anna, to be fair, this is a concern even in India. And I think for a woman traveler, if we are talking about the challenges, a lot of the expenses also depends on finding a safe accommodation. Like maybe for a guy, he can live in many hotels that are a little on the outskirts of a city. But for us, we will always have to choose the city center, or as you mentioned, where we are with other women, just, even if it's more expensive, just because, there's this concern of safety while
Yeah.
traveling alone. So it does come with the deep research and other things.
Yeah, it reminds me very recently, a friend of mine, a guy friend of mine, that I was saying that how I'm back in India again and I want to travel, but COVID, etc. And he said, oh, don't worry about others. If you feel safe, why don't you just travel somewhere? And I said, the problem is the amount of planning it will take to do it on my own. I would rather do it with somebody. Sometimes I have made that choice. Obviously, traveling alone has its own beautiful perks, but sometimes all that planning that you have to do while traveling alone, I just skip on it and I said, I'm just going to wait for a friend to be free and just go with them, or wait for a family member to be free and go with them. I don't know if you guys have done that. Sometimes I have done that.
Absolutely. At least for India, not all hostels are great.
That's true.
It's a huge risk, and sometimes it's just convenient to call a couple of friends and say, okay, let's go and stay in a decent hotel together, or let's plan a trip. It just saves a lot of research, it saves a lot of money, it saves a lot of thinking about, okay, can I take the cab from this point to that point all by myself? No, at least I have my friends along, so I don't have to, plan that in advance.
What is you guys' best travel memory, you would say? Traveling alone or not, it doesn't matter, but what is your best travel memory? Like, off the top of your head, what comes to mind right now?
I went to visit a friend of mine that was doing some volunteering work in Turkey. It was very interesting for me because it was like the first time that I was not in a very European city, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually hitchhiked
Oh.
to Istanbul. And one of my favorite memories is this truck driver that gave us a ride. We could barely speak with each other. We didn't really have much of a language in common. You know, my friend knew a bit of Turkish, but nothing much. And we are just in the middle of this nowhere. It's like a high, not really a highway. And the guy opens something in the truck and he starts cooking eggs and he starts cutting his bread and his cheese
Oh,
and sharing with us.
yeah, that's very sweet.
Very, very sweet, actually.
The generosity, the openness. Yeah, sometimes when I want to believe in the good of people, I believe of that evening and us having that dinner together and how people can be so generous. So this I think is my most dear travel memory.
That's wonderful. I don't have anything to compete with that. But yeah, Chandani, go ahead.
Yeah, like one thing that Anna said is actually very, very relatable, is that wherever we go, like, I mean, personally, I mean, there would be too many memories like this, where I remember that, just a passerby's generosity takes us a long way.
Yeah.
Like, I remember this one time. So, what happened is we were returning from Uttarakhand, I and my mother, and we were stuck because our prime minister Narendra Modi had announced curfew and lockdown. So it was very, very sudden, and the hotel where we were supposed to get in, that hotel just turned us out and said that, we cannot accommodate you anymore because we are going into lockdown. You find a way to return however you can. And it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare for us because it was already
Mhm.
10:30, 11 in a small town, and we didn't know how we would return. And the driver said this one thing, and I remember, and mind you, the driver didn't know us from before, but he said, see, I can just tell you one thing, so long as I am here, I will make arrangements, you don't need to be worried. There were people who were random people coming and making these shady offers. Come, I'll give you a room, come sleep with me, come, I'll give you a room, don't worry, I will protect you. All shady random people coming. And he was like, it doesn't matter, worst case scenario, we will drive all night and we will reach the airport, but just have some faith in me that I will ensure that things will go fine. And that night,
Yeah.
that was all we needed to hear. I mean, he did whatever he could, and he was just a random stranger. It's not a driver we knew from before. And it's moments like this that make you think that, above everything, humanity is something that can be witnessed over and over again through travel.
Yeah, that's true. That's the whole point of traveling, I guess, right? Because when we stay in one place, we get into our heads so much. We see
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same people, we do the same things. But yeah,
Absolutely. Okay, let me ask you all one thing. Has any particular trip been very life changing for you, as they show in these movies, whether it's Wild or Eat, Pray, Love? Do you think, would you say that in real life that actually has happened to you, and you
I have one. It might sound a little stupid. I don't know.
Share with us.
Okay, I mean, it was nothing out of the ordinary. So, I had never traveled alone before. I always had this weird fear that I cannot do it. I mean, I have anxiety, I have self esteem issues. So, all of that kind of comes together whenever I have to do something alone. Traveling is no different. So, I remember around this July of 2018, my boss said that he wanted to send me to a conference because I was about to graduate. And he said, this is one of the biggest conferences we have. It will be for a whole week. It will be in Montreal, Canada. Again, it's a city. It's not like it's on the foothills of something. And he said, you can go alone because I don't see us spending money for me. You can just tell me what happens. Like, it's such a big conference. You'll be fine. You have been a graduate student for a long time. So basically, he wanted me to go alone. I was so scared. I was planning and preparing and googling, and again, it's a city, it's a pretty big city. I lived in a smaller place, but I was just so scared, and I kept thinking I'm going to screw something up, like from attending the conference to reaching the place. And I don't know, it's a different country, I still have to do like the whole visa thing. The conference was fine, the trip was okay, it was great that I didn't screw anything up. But the last day, I had a choice between attending some more sessions. It was a very long conference, and basically just bunking everything and going off on my own for some reason. And I'm a rule follower all the time, which is probably not the best thing to do. I decided not to attend anything, and I just started walking. I didn't look at the map. I just started walking. And again, it's a city. It's not like something will happen. But I had a few conversations with some people. I was buying chocolates for my sister, and it was a very hot day. But I did everything that I wanted to cover pretty much in that area. And I don't know, I just gained a little bit of confidence in myself that I did this little thing. I didn't screw anything up, and I can do it again. And since then, I have done it again. I don't question things anymore so much that I cannot do it myself. But the first trip alone was the best one, I think.
Yeah, you got confidence. Yeah, like getting
Yeah.
Yeah.
out of your comfort zone.
It
Yeah.
helped you face your fears.
Do you have anything, Anna?
So for me, many trips did some small changes, but I actually have this trip, and it was even in Portugal. So it's not that I went to some, I don't know, far away or whatever, but it was my first bike trip. So basically, what I mean bike trip is that you go on your bicycle, you put your tent in your bicycle, you take, I don't know, your food and water. And then we were for 2 days biking. We camped in the beach, just feeling this freedom that I can just get on my bicycle and just go, not planning any hotel or anything. And you just go with the flow as much your body allows you to, or the weather allows. Just such a connection to the present and to the moment. And I do suffer a bit with anxiety. So when Ananya was explaining all her troubles before the traveling, oh God, I have the same. I totally feel you. Yeah, but then, being there, just in the moment.
Yeah. I also think you can see a lot more, isn't it? Like when you're on the bicycle and all.
Yeah,
There's no itinerary in place. You see a lot more
yeah,
around
yeah.
you.
You are much slower. It happens that you need to ask for help, that you need to interact with the people, and or people will come and ask you, "What the hell are you doing?" This my first bike trip. I know it just set this mood of me wanting to go to nature and do things slowly and not plan too much and just go with the
Yeah.
flow. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I want to do someday.
Yeah, that sounds pretty incredible.
Not in India. Not in India for sure. But yeah, yeah.
Probably not. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you have traveled in India much more than I have. Do you think things are becoming better? Things are becoming safer? Because I see you have hostels coming up in like big cities and stuff. What do you think?
Things are progressing, but safety is still a huge concern for women because you know how the men are, right? I mean, it's very difficult to bridge the class gap, to bridge a lot of things when you're actually out there traveling solo.
Mhm.
You will invite certain judgments, you will invite certain issues. So maybe a hostel in Goa, the hostel that we have in Goa is very good, for example,
Okay.
but the one in Sikkim is not very good.
Okay.
Like it's good, but it's not, again, not extremely good because it's very crowded also. So that might not be very comfortable for a lot of women out there.
You're right. Yeah.
Like I would not want to share my room with 50 guys who might get drunk and then just land up in my room at night. It's very difficult to sleep peacefully like that.
Yeah, absolutely. But coming back to the question that you asked us, what's that one life changing trip? Do you have an example?
Actually, no. I was just curious about this entire thing because since we were talking about facing our fears and all, I think once I moved to Bombay, what I did was that I decided to travel with strangers, because it's not something I had done ever before, and I thought it will teach me a bit of adjustment and also a bit of, pushing myself out of my comfort zone, a bit more of, knowing people, knowing how to deal with a lot of unpredictable situations, like kind of resistance building. And I did 2 or 3 trips like that with people I had not traveled with before. Initially, I'll be honest, it was a little difficult because different people have different travel choices and everything. But by the end of the year, I realized that it was an amazing experience. So I traveled to a place called Manori. I traveled to a place called Murud Janjira. And I actually realized that, all these places, as we were discussing, even if you're not getting along with those who are traveling with, there are people who you will meet on the way, and they will help you out and they will contribute to a lot of your experiences in good ways and bad. And holistically, it does become very, very enriching. I have a question. If there was one thing you would like to change about women traveling out there, what would it be for your respective countries and everything? Like, what kind of challenge, apart from safety? Of course, safety is a worldwide concern. But apart from safety, what is another issue, logistic or emotional or otherwise, that you would like to address if you all are traveling on your own?
I'm thinking about, of course, Portugal in Europe in general. Really, the only problem I can see is somehow related with security. I'm not aware of any kind of discrimination because of women traveling alone. I think there is still maybe a bit of mentality like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Why are you traveling alone? Nowadays it's more of a curiosity.
Yeah, I want to say that I wish, I mean, I know why it is not the norm, but I wish it was more normal to see women traveling. Like in India, whenever I have traveled with women friends, we still get attention, is basically like everyone is aware. Even
Yeah.
people who are traveling with families, I'm not saying they're creeps or anything. They'll just be very aware that it is two women or three women or one woman traveling. So I hope someday that's not the case. Like no one cares about your gender.
Yeah, that would also change the security problem, I guess. That will also address.
Yeah, that if
Yeah.
people, I hope people are not so aware, and the eyes, the prying eyes
Yeah.
would not be so common.
So I wish, we had more hygienic toilets for women, because that's a logistical concern across India.
That's
To
very
get
true.
a, yeah, there are unisex loos, but I mean, they are very dirty. Like, I don't want to badmouth India, but it's an issue that has not been addressed over
No,
these
it is what it
years.
is.
It is what it is, exactly. Like, a lot of safety concerns, like, even, I mean, in North India, if you're like driving long distances, you won't probably find a eatery or a restaurant which has a clean loo for a woman.
Hmm.
And it becomes a huge, like, 19 hours, 20 hours you're traveling in the bus from a Shimla to Manali, but there's not a single restaurant with a decent loo. And it becomes a huge challenge for women in general.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I guess it goes to show how little I have traveled in India alone. But yeah, that's pretty terrible in this day and age. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I remember when I joined my college, it's a small college. We had only one loo for women and we had three loos for men on every floor. So,
yeah.
and this is not like 100 years ago. It was pretty irritating, honestly. And this is something which I see all the
Yeah,
time.
and this is a concern because I mean, see, there's always this risk of UTI, right? There's always this risk of,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
the men are not so much at risk as we are.
Yeah. Because if it's not clean, then having the loo also is not really solving that much of an issue.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I see brands now coming in with these products, these paper products that are recyclable and that can be used by women to pee anywhere, specially catered towards women travelers, because I believe that the numbers have increased somewhere. But
That's good.
yeah, but again, they are not solving the basic issue that, maybe they need to build more toilets, they need to have cleaner toilets instead of just focusing on these short term measures.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I still remember as a kid when we would travel as in a group. Before stepping out, like before like taking the bus or something, my mom would constantly be like, "Did you pee? Did you pee?" And I'm like, "How many times?" Yeah. She was like this like army general. She was like, "Did you pee? Did you pee?" To me, my sister. And I'm like, "Yes, oh my God, jeez, back off."
Yeah, moms know best. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand because after that, it's like 4 or 5 hours. You don't have an option.
And see, I mean, I'm sure even they didn't want to go to those public toilets. I mean, those were so dirty.
No, yeah. I mean, it's like I was
Yeah.
young, right? So she has to take me. So poor thing, it becomes her responsibility to like me, my sister. Growing up, I have seen how much my mom had to do, like packing and taking care of little things. And I could see that for her, the traveling experience was so much different because she has to take care of so much. Because I was a kid. My dad is taking care of, like, that everything is booked and then he's done.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would see her, she would come back more exhausted. Like we are coming back very rejuvenated, but
Yeah, yeah.
she's exhausted because she has had to do
Absolutely,
so much.
absolutely, yeah.
I hope, and yeah, I hope that changes too.
I remember this like one time when my mother said, I'm very exhausted. I just want to go on a solo trip once in my life. And people were shocked because, I mean, neighbors taunted, relatives taunted. But she was like, I just want to unwind and unpack. I don't want to just go take everyone's world and take care of everyone on a trip. I just want to go and
Yeah,
be on my own.
yeah. The emotional labor involved is a lot.
I think we have got to the point of aspiring for a lot of things, but regretting that we are still not
Yeah.
able to do it in the middle of a pandemic. So yeah.
Vicariously living through older anecdotes. Let's talk about recommendations. So, since we are nearing the end of the episode, do you guys have any recommendations? Especially if they're travel related. Any travel movies or books or series that you guys have enjoyed?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about movies, then of course the Before Sunrise, After Sunrise series.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
But if you are actually talking about recommendations in general, I would still want people to, go out there and travel instead of getting into these things. I mean, that will still
Oh, yeah. That's a
remain the
good one.
best thing that they can do instead of just getting into somebody else's narrative all the time.
Anna, do you have something?
Yeah, I have again kind of a lifestyle recommendation.
Yes.
But it sounds a bit silly, but something that I personally really like to do. So, one thing I like to do is whenever I come back from some traveling, to keep the tourist mind on, because sometimes you can do really nice travels just in the place where you live, actually. Sometimes you are in a place and you don't really recognize any value on it because you are just so used to it. And then when you come back from the travel, maybe you can realize, oh, yeah, this is actually pretty nice. And you can keep that. And maybe it will even help you to reconnect to your community, for example, to keep this open mind that you have when you go out to a different country or to a different state.
I completely second Anna, like you should always be the explorer even in your own hometown. You don't know any place or any person completely. I mean, choose to be surprised.
For me, I know no one asked me, but I'm just gonna answer it. I remember, I remember this is before I started like traveling alone or with friends. I remember watching Under the Tuscan Sun. It is one of my favorite movies. It is the most aspirational movie ever.
Aspirational is the word, yeah.
Yes. I like it more than I know many women like Eat, Pray, Love. I don't want to shit on that movie at all, but I think Under the Tuscan Sun is it's a better movie. I have not read the book, but I liked that movie so much. I watch it so much. Every time I find something new I like about it. And also renovating a house is something I want to do at some point in my life. So okay, so on that note, this was wonderful. Thanks, Chandrani, for joining us. Thanks, Anna, for joining us. And thanks, Google, for silently joining us. I had a lot of fun reliving all the memories.
My pleasure.
Yeah, and I hope soon we can travel more normally, quote unquote, and hope we have more experiences.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Hope we can conquer fear while traveling.
Yes, hope we can conquer fear while traveling. That's very important. On that note, we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Boom,
Bye.
boom, and the zippity zoom. I'm in love, I'm in love, I'm in love. I don't care.
So basically, this was when I went to Montreal. The Montreal trip was not all like roses and lilies. I remember there was this one day when I had gone to Chinatown. I really wanted good Chinese, and I got really good Chinese. Like the food over there is just incredible and cheap. I don't know how. I had picked up some food. It was just about to get dark, and this was a pretty safe city. Like, I didn't feel anything any other day. This is Montreal, Canada. And I was living in downtown because that's where the conference was. I was just walking from the place to, it was a 5 minute walk to my hotel, and there was this one guy. He was standing and he was doing something with a couple of his friends. And remember, I'm alone. I don't even speak the language properly because they speak French most of the time. He starts saying something in French, and I thought he's talking to somebody else. And then he's like, "Hey, hey, give me your number, give me your number." And I'm like, "Okay, who is he talking to?" Because there's literally no one. And I obviously stopped. Then I realized he's literally chasing after me, and I got so scared because I'm not a runner. I can't run away from him. And I started perspiring. I was so fucking scared. I mean, thankfully, eventually I reached my hotel because it was right there. But that had scared the crap out of me. Like, no, maybe he didn't do anything eventually, but just the fact that he could harass me, just that he had the power to harass me when I was having a good trip. This was like 2 days before I was about to leave, just shook me a little. So that is one of those like weird experiences I have had while traveling alone.
Yeah, now you're reminding me of an experience as well.
No, go ahead, say it. We can find a way to
Yeah,
include it.
so it was in the US. Anyway, I was just exploring the city where I was, right? And for more than once, man talked to me asking me to smile. And I thought this thing of people
Oh,
asking to smile was a
Oh
joke
my
on the
God.
internet. I was like, people don't do that.
yes.
And people did that to me, because I have a bit of a resting bitch face. I think it's a blessing while you are traveling alone, but yeah.
Absolutely. Actually, when you visited, the mask mandate was gone, right? Because with
Yeah.
masks, that thing became like a blessing. People could not see my face, and they didn't tell me to smile.
Yeah, yeah.
But I really
But
thought this thing
yeah,
of asking to smile was really a joke on the internet.
no, it's more common in the USA than you think,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean, now that you pointed it out, I can also think of a couple
But
of,
that
yeah.
creeped me out so much.
I'm very shocked. I'm trying to process this that, somebody might come up just and say, please smile.
Yes.
Yeah, it is like such an invasion of personal space. It's very disturbing.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. It is very disturbing.